France's title defense curse. No nation has failed to defend the World Cup in two more contrasting ways. Twice champions, twice unable to hold the trophy at the next tournament. As reigning champions in 2002, France arrived as favorites and left the group stage without scoring a single goal, one of the most shocking title defenses ever. There are two chapters, the 2002 early exit disaster and the 2022 near miss, where a new generation reached the final itself. Unlike most nations that fade slowly, France covers the entire spectrum, from the fastest possible exit to the closest possible retention. Real examples. The 2022 final went to penalties after Mbappe's hat trick lost to Argentina. In 2002, a shock opening defeat to Senegal started the collapse, and France never recovered. Honest insight: no team has retained the World Cup since Brazil in 1962. France's two failures 20 years apart show how wide that gap can be, from heartbreakingly close to embarrassingly far. South Africa's host curse. South Africa became the first World Cup host to fail advancing past the group stage, reshaping how people talk about hosting pressure ever since. As hosts, South Africa carried the weight of staging the first World Cup on African soil, with expectations reaching far beyond football results. There are two sides: on-pitch pressure, where the squad managed only one win in 3 group matches, and off-pitch pressure from organizing a first-of-its-kind tournament under global scrutiny. Unlike France's title defense curse, this one is about pressure from the crowd and nation watching at home, not fatigue from a previous title. Real examples. Qatar echoed a similar early host exit 12 years later in 2022. South Africa finished bottom of Group A in 2010, with 1 win and 1 draw from 3 matches. Honest insight: hosting does not guarantee results. South Africa's exit remains the clearest proof that home advantage at a World Cup is more myth than certainty. Brazil's Maracanazo curse. The Maracanazo curse. This is Brazil's own home soil trauma, named after their shock 1950 final loss to Uruguay at the Maracana, in front of nearly 200,000 fans expecting a coronation. The wound is less about losing than the manner of it, a nation already convinced of victory before the final whistle. There are two chapters: the original 1950 final loss and its modern echo, the 2014 semi-final collapse against Germany, nicknamed the Maracanazo. Unlike South Africa's host curse, this one is deeply personal to Brazil, referenced in its football culture as a specific historical trauma, not just bad luck. Real examples. The 2014 semi-final loss reopened the wound 64 years later. The 1950 final remains one of football's most studied collapses. Honest insight: this proves a curse can be cultural memory as much as pattern. Brazil carries this one loss differently than any other result in its history. Netherlands' best team never to win curse. The Netherlands reached 3 World Cup finals in 1974, 1978, and 2010, and lost all 3, making them the standard bearer for this heartbreak. Their total football philosophy in the 1970s revolutionized the sport tactically, yet never converted into an actual trophy. There are two shapes: played the better football and still lost in 1974, and grinded it out and still fell short in 2010. Unlike Brazil's Maracanazo, this is not one traumatic moment. It is repeated near misses stacking up across generations. Real examples. Arjen Robben and Wesley Sneijder carried this heartbreak in 2010. Johan Cruyff's 1974 side remains the most influential team never to lift the trophy. Honest insight: influence and silverware are not the same thing. The Netherlands changed how football is played and still has nothing to show for it. England's penalty shootout curse. England has lost more World Cup penalty shootouts than almost any other nation, turning the walk from the center circle into national anxiety. The pattern stretches back decades, talented squads reaching the knockout stage, then falling apart in the moment that comes down to individual nerve. There are two eras: shaky technique under pressure in the older era, and statistically strong takers still finding ways to miss in the newer one. Unlike the Netherlands' curse of losing finals, this one is far more specific, not the whole match, just one single kick.
Real examples. England lost shootouts in 1990, 1998, 2006, and 2018 before finally breaking through against Colombia. The 1990 semi-final loss to West Germany set the whole pattern in motion.
Honest insight: modern sports psychology has genuinely improved England's record. The curse is not dead, but it is weaker than it used to be. Spain's underachievement curse. For decades before 2010, Spain was widely seen as one of the most talented footballing nations that consistently failed on the World Cup stage. The gap between individual quality and actual results was so large it became a running joke: endless talent, minimal silverware. There are two eras: pre-2008 quarterfinal exits despite star-studded squads, and a brief dip after the 2010 golden generation faded. Unlike the Netherlands' curse, Spain's has a happy ending built in. This one was fully broken, not just repeated. Real examples: the 2010 Tiki Taka squad finally won it all. Talented Spanish sides from the 1980s and 90s repeatedly crashed out early, despite strong domestic leagues. Honest insight. This proves curses can end completely. Spain's 2010 win basically retired this narrative for good. Portugal's Golden Generation curse. In the late 1990s, Portugal built a golden generation around Luis Figo and Rui Costa, a core that had already won back-to-back FIFA Youth World Championships, yet never turned that talent into a senior World Cup. That youth success raised expectations sky high, but the same generation stumbled at senior level for years before finally arriving as favorites. There are two chapters: the early years, where the golden reputation did not yet match senior results, and the 2002 tournament itself, where they arrived as genuine dark horses. Unlike Belgium's version 2 decades later, Portugal's golden generation flamed out earlier, never reaching a World Cup semi-final to match the hype. Real examples. Portugal crashed out in the group stage of the 2002 World Cup, a shock given their billing. That same core had won the Under-20 World Championship in 1989 and 1991. Honest insight, dominating youth football guarantees nothing at senior level. Portugal's golden generation is the clearest cautionary tale of that gap. Argentina's post-Maradona number 10 curse. After Diego Maradona single-handedly carried Argentina to the 1986 title, every player who wore the number 10 shirt after him was measured against a standard almost nobody could reach. The weight was not just about skill, it was expectation. An entire nation's hopes attached to one shirt number every tournament. There are two eras, the burden of comparison in the 1990s and 2000s, and the one final chance era that defined the 2010s and early 2020s. Unlike the Netherlands' repeated final curse, this one centers entirely on a single shirt number and a single legendary predecessor, not a whole team's history. Real examples. Lionel Messi carried this exact weight for nearly 2 decades before finally winning it all in 2022. Even Maradona's own 1990 final loss briefly complicated his legacy. Honest insight. This might be the most complete curse break in World Cup history. Messi did not just win, he ended a comparison that had followed him his entire career. And those are the biggest curses in World Cup history, some still standing, some finally broken. Thanks for watching, and if you want the trophies and rules explained too, those videos are right there.